Could we see a significant trade between the Leafs and the Oilers? We're going to discuss that possibility. Plus, we have more details on the potential contract with Nazem Kadri and the New York Islanders. And are there still other teams in the mix? We also have some signings today as well. And the Rangers have named a new captain. We'll discuss all that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news, rumors, and stuff to talk about here today. First up, just a little bit of a day in hockey history here. It was on this day 34 years ago that we had probably the largest, most significant trade in NHL history. Of course, that's the Wayne Gretzky trade. Caught everybody by shock and surprise. Not something that very many people, I'm not sure anybody seen that coming at all. And of course, as we now say today, if Gretzky can be traded, that probably means that anybody can be traded. We've seen many top stars moved around, but that was a pretty dramatic fashion there from the Edmonton Oilers to the Los Angeles Kings, where, of course, he went on to really promote hockey and help it grow in the state of California. So it was certainly significant in more ways than one, but obviously the biggest trade in NHL history happened 34 years ago today. And of course, we also got some significant news from the Rangers today. They've decided to finally name a new captain. It's been some time since they've had a player wear the C on his jersey, and that's going to be defenseman Jacob Trouba. Of course, Trouba is a player who you can say what you want about some of his hits. I know he's a big physical defenseman. Some of his hits last year especially were getting a lot of attention, and there were some that I would agree that did kind of cross the line and certainly became, you could say to a degree, some people think he's a headhunter. I'm not going to say that he is, but I know that some of his hits certainly did make significant head contact. But regardless of that, he does play with a lot of edge, physicality, and does lead out there. I know it was believed that before the season started, before the Rangers had confirmed that they weren't naming a captain, I've seen some speculation that the players amongst themselves had kind of talked and voted, and that's who they wanted to be captain was Trouba. I know there's certainly a lot of fans that thought maybe Kreider or Zibanejad should get that honor, and they're certainly deserving in their own right as well. No likely wear A's for the franchise, but Trouba is the guy that seems to be the most respected in the locker room to be this guy and to be the leader on the ice. And of course, we ended up with a fairly new regime last year with new coach, new GM, and they wanted to take some time to make sure that they made the right choice. And obviously, Trouba's into a long-term deal, big money deal. And you have to think as well that this is also going to impact their salary cap, because obviously they're not going to go to the trouble of making this guy their captain. He's on a long-term deal. So that's fair to say that he's definitely not going anywheres. And I'm not saying there's been rumors about Trouba getting traded, but when you look at the Rangers cap situation and you look at their young stars like Lafreniere and Hedl and Kakko and all going to be hopefully earning more money here in the next couple of years as time goes on, they very well might need to shed some money. And it just goes to show that Trouba's not going to be one of those players that is moved to accomplish that. So we'll have to see where things go in that regard. It's a different conversation. But for right now, Jacob Trouba is the next captain in New York Rangers history. Certainly seems like he's got the respect of his teammates and management, coaching staff, etc., to wear the honor in the Big Apple. So certainly good on him to receive that. We also got another signing here today. The Hurricanes have finally come to terms with Marty Necas on a 2-year contract where he gets $3 million per season. So that's a pretty good compromise on a player who I think you could say hasn't quite fully developed yet. It hasn't hit his full ceiling and had a bit of a down year last year, especially in the playoffs. You think there's more from Necas that needs to come, and this is another kind of a not really a prove-it contract, but still not that long-term deal that I'm sure he was hoping he'd get by now. But of course, like I mentioned before, Necas and Kotkaniemi are both going to have a huge opportunity to possibly fill that number 2 center spot, vacated by Vincent Trocheck in free agency. And if he can do that and hold down and produce, then certainly will help him get that next long-term deal and really solidify himself as part of the team's core moving forward. Now, of course, a couple updates as well. Yesterday, we had the big updates on the Boston Bruins signing Bergeron, Krejci, and others, but we got a little bit more details now, which I know at the time when I recorded the video weren't quite available. But the bonus structure for Krejci and Bergeron both took significantly cheap deals, but of course, for their 1-year deals and they're over the age of 35, you can build in the bonuses, and they seem to be mostly linked to games played. Like I know in Krejci's, He gets like $1 million for playing 10 games, and I think there's another $500K for when he hits 20 games, and then the rest is if they make the playoffs. So Bergeron's got a similar type of structure. So where most of it is tied to games played, and the number is not huge, you can pretty much, for the most part, now you can't guarantee it because you never know who can get hurt or what can happen. But these are very attainable bonuses, and the Bruins definitely need to be cautious with their cap to be able to handle that in there. Like I said before, if you have a bonus overage, it can affect your cap the next year instead of the current year. So we'll have to watch that. So it could be a case where they really try to go for it this year, but it may impact things next year depending on where their cap situation is at and how much of those bonuses, of course, are attained. The 2022 World Junior Championships get underway today in Edmonton. So far, the North American teams, Canada and USA, have not started their first game action here as of yet. The only game that's complete so far here today is the Czech Republic, or Czechia, I guess they prefer to be called now, defeating Slovakia by a score of 5-4. And of course, it was after the second period when I started recording this, but Finland was up 4-0 over Latvia. A lot of the Finnish prospects that are linked to NHL teams, like Kamel, who was just drafted, Brad Lambert, who was just drafted, of course, Ronnie Hirvonen, of course, connected to the Maple Leafs, and of course, Atu Ratu from the Islanders, all having real solid games, producing multiple point games here early on with still a period to go. So they're off to a flying start here for the Finns. Now, one update here on the Kadri situation comes from Frank Seravalli on the latest DFL Rundown podcast. Seravalli says that he believes that the Kadri situation with the Islanders is believed to be basically only a verbal agreement. Like, he's not signed a contract according to him. As far as he knows, it's a situation where they kind of have like a handshake verbal agreement, but Kadri and his agent are still somewhat talking to other teams and are still entertaining other offers. It's hard to think right now that other teams are likely going to come up with an offer that he was really going to probably prefer over what the Owls have offered. Now, that offer is believed to be 7 years and $7 million per season. So that is a far drop in what was reported by the New York Post and Larry Brooks, saying that it was believed Kadri was looking for $9 million per year on a longer term deal as well. So that's a big difference there. That's $7 million per season for Kadri. I think is reasonable. The 7-year term, some might say it's too long. Maybe that's a valid point, but when teams are signing these deals, they're doing that to get the AAV down. And to be honest, I think they really only care about the first probably 4 years. After that, they're willing to live with what happens because that's the most productive time of the contract anyhow. But the one team that still kind of seems to be sniffing around there a little bit, according to Seravalli, is the Calgary Flames. I think, based on what he had to say and what the Flames might be willing to offer, that it's probably going to be good money, but short term. I'm not sure exactly what the AAV would be, but it's believed that Calgary would likely make room by trading one of their many NHL quality defensemen and probably bring in Kadri to shore up the forward group, because that is an area that has, it could stand to be a little bit better. The decor is really good. They have an excellent goaltender, but another quality forward would go a long way to making Calgary as good or better than last year, in my opinion. I think that's an area they need to focus on, and they likely will do that. I don't see Kadri being the guy. You never know. I think they're more likely to dip into another free agent player and see if they can get maybe, whether it be Rodriguez or Milano or one of those guys that's still out there and able to give them decent quality for a cheaper price tag and might be more willing to accept a shorter term contract. Now, with this contract verbal agreement, so to speak, with the Islanders, Seravalli goes on to say that the players that Lou is definitely trying to move right now to make all this happen is definitely Josh Bailey and Anthony Beauvillier. Lots of teams at some point have had interest, and especially Beauvillier. Bailey a little bit less. Wouldn't be shocking if he's trying to move Bailey to a team like Arizona, or maybe even like one of the California teams, like in Anaheim, for example. Not a lot of teams out there have the space to do it, and he's likely going to have to pay some draft picks or something to entice them to want to do it. For he has 2 years left. It's not going to be easy to do. At least Beauvillier, he's younger, has more value, and there's a more likelihood that somebody like that would be willing to take him on. I think there'd be lots of teams interested in Beauvillier for the right price, but of course, Bailey will be a tougher move. But they are indeed the players that we're still talking about here, with another source like Frank, who's well connected, confirming that they are the players that are likely on the block. It's just a matter of Lou finding a way to get it done. He also thinks that it makes more sense for Dobson to be locked up on a longer term deal, and he's probably going to get $6 to $7 million is what he said. But of course, they could go with a bridge deal where he could make a little bit less for short term. But like I've said before, especially with a player like Dobson at a 50-point season, the price tag just never goes down. I know it'll be tough cap wise, but it's going to be up to Lou to find that magic, transaction here to move money out like he did last offseason. He found ways. This year seems to be a lot tougher, so we'll have to see what he does. But the Dobson contract and a Bellows contract and a Romanov contract are reportedly and believed to be, according to Saravalli and others, done, filed in a drawer, just not made official with the NHL while he tries to work out and move money off the rest of the roster, which should be no surprise. This is becoming a trend here with Mr. Lamoriello. Now, as I mentioned before, could we see a Oilers and Leafs trade that could help both teams? I've mentioned before about Jesse Puljujarvi maybe heading to Montreal not too long ago, 3 or 4 days ago. There were some reports that the Habs were one of the teams at the draft and inquired on his availability. And now that he's signed to a short-term $3 million contract, it might be easier to move him because teams know what the cost is going to be this year moving forward because there's no long-term commitment. So that might help getting him off the roster if they do indeed want to go down that road. But it's believed that they would like some more cap flexibility. They might be able to bring in 2 players for that same kind of price. Now, another way that the Oilers could very well move money might be by trading Tyson Barrie. Now, you might say, well, why would they move Barrie after Duncan Keith retired? Do they really want to move him too? And secondly, a lot of people thought, and I said it too, when Keith retired, that maybe moving Barrie isn't really necessary now. And it's maybe not necessary per se, but I see another article here, which I will have linked down below in the top pinned comment where you can take a look at it. It has a compelling argument where they might be able to make a deal here with the Leafs. We know the Oilers seem to love former Leaf players. There's enough of them there now. Maybe why not add one more? A Puljujarvi trade to the Leafs for a guy like maybe Justin Hall might actually be able to help both teams. Now, Puljujarvi could certainly add some extra depth to the Leafs in the bottom 6. Probably play a third-line role, and Justin Hall could come to the Oilers, be a cheaper version of a third-pair defenseman. They could then move out Tyson Barrie, and there's lots of teams that were probably would want a right-shot defenseman for $4.5 million who can move the puck like him. I don't think they'd have a hard time moving Barrie at all. So there's that. So obviously moving Barrie and bringing in Hall saves them some money, save a couple $2 million that way. And then of course Hall also costs less money than Puljujarvi. So there's lots of moving parts there that could very well save the Oilers cap space. Now, from the Leafs side of things, another player to look for, which could be involved either in this kind of a trade or another one, would be Alex Kerfoot. Of course, the thing with Kerfoot as well is his actual money being paid out in cash this year coming is way less than his actual cap hit. So for a team that might want to save some actual real dollars, but yet not too concerned over the cap hit, would be a good team to look for. So there is some potential value there, as well as, of course, being a pretty good player to boot and can play in your middle 6 and play center, play wing, give you 40, 50 points. Like, he's a pretty versatile player in that regard. So I wouldn't be shocked here to see a potential Oilers-Leafs trade. It does make sense that it could benefit both sides, and then there could be a spin-off effect from that where we also see, like I said, a guy like Tyson Barrie moved as well. Would a team like Montreal be interested? I think there would be, but because of they moved Petrie, it's a cheaper version of a right shot D, different age group, a little less money, less term, but they would want to move out money elsewhere, which would be like another spin-off effect of another pending move based on another move. And it's just like the domino effect, right? So it's hard to say if it would go down. There'd be other teams interested too. It's rumored that the Senators want another right shot D that they've been looking at, Jacob Chikrin, which would certainly, I think, be the better long-term fit. But, if that doesn't work out, maybe when they get to training camp, maybe they consider a Tyson Barrie deal. That's another, just an option plan B or C. Teams are looking at all kinds of different things. And it might be quiet on the trade front for a few weeks here until we get to camp and teams can actually start evaluating players and their rosters and start getting a better idea. But still, I think we could see a Leafs-Oilers trade, and there could be a spin-off effect of other subsequent moves involving other teams here as well. So let me know your thoughts, and I'm going to discuss here down in the comments. So if you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. As you can see in the back here, still coming to you live here from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Beautiful spot here. If you haven't been, I highly recommend you check it out. All kinds of great entertainment as well as beautiful scenery. So I recommend, if you haven't been here, that when you have a chance, certainly check it out. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.